Hi everybody, welcome to the December Supper Club. Hope you've had a good fall. We are continuing our way to touch and go with tattoos on the heart this fall. And there's a story, Dee, on page 72, for those of you who want to go back and look at the book, about the church that Father Boyle is the pastor of, and a time when they started to invite people that were some undocumented people, homeless men, and the smell that created in the church. So this is from 72. We just thought we'd read a little of this. It said, once the homeless began to sleep in the church at night, there was always the faintest evidence that they had. Come Sunday morning, we'd foo-foo the place as best we could. We would sprinkle I love my carpet on the rugs and vacuum like crazy. We'd strategically place potpourri and airwick around the church to combat this lingering, pervasive reminder that nearly 50, and at one point up to 100 men had spent the night there. About the only time we used incense at Dolores Mission was on Sunday morning before the 7:30 Mass crowd would arrive. Still, try as we might, the smell remained, and the grumbling set in, and people spoke of churching elsewhere. He says the smell was never overwhelming, just undeniably there. And the Jesuits figured that if we can't fix it, we'll feature it. And so we determined to address the discontent in our homilies one Sunday. He says homilies at that time were dialogic, and so one day he began with, "What's the church smell like?" People are mortified. Eye contact ceases. Women are searching inside their purses, for they know not what. "Come on," he says. "What's the church smell like?" "Smells like feet," Don Raphael booms out. He was old and never cared what people thought. "Excellent. But why does it smell like feet?" "'Cause many homeless men slept here last night," says a woman. "Well, why do we let that happen here?" "It's what we're committed to do, what we've committed to do," says another. "Well, why would anyone commit to do that?" "It's what Jesus would do." "Well, then what does the church smell like now?" And a man stands and bellows, "It smells like commitment." The place cheers. Guadalupe waves her arms wildly. "Smells like roses." And the packed church roars with laughter and a newfound kinship that embraced someone else's odor as their own. And then he says the stink in the church hadn't changed, only how the folks saw it. The people at Dolores Mission had come to embody Wendell Berry's injunction, you have to be able to imagine lives that are not yours. That sense is what we want to talk about this week or this month with you is the shift from doing good things for people to being in a relationship with people. And I know you had an example of a homeless shelter that we had talked about.
Yes, Ian, I worked at Wellspring House in Gloucester, and it was a primarily a homeless shelter for women and their children. And one of the premises of the shelter itself was seeing that wholeness of all people. So we would share meals together around a table. It was either usually lunch or dinner. And around the table would be gathered women who had lost their homes, many who were financially challenged. But alongside of those were the staff, which included some of our teachers who would teach in our continuing education program. Some were Harvard professors, as well as our board members. We had one woman whose husband was a CFO for Bank Boston. And so you had people of great wealth and people who had nothing sitting at the table together. And I remember sitting with the women who were there with their children processing this, and many of them shared the discomfort of they have everything and I have nothing, and it feels awkward, like what do we talk about? And in sharing with them, again, looking at the whole person, but also seeing in themselves, they had something to contribute to the table, that the Harvard professor was going through a divorce. So although she may have great conversation, there was a part of her that was also wounded. And there was the CFO, her son was coming out as a gay man, and at that time it was still a lot of tumultuous pieces for her. And so really realizing that we all were gathering around that table because we all needed nourishment. It may be different ways we needed it, but being able to see that other as a whole person and see what each of us can contribute.
This is, I'm going to try to preach about this Sunday, so I'm not sure if I can get words around this, but it's real. I was telling Dee, this has really been impactful for me. I think it's something I'm still learning. I think I get this intellectually, that we're all the same, and that, I'm realizing that there's a part of me that was taught that being Christian is about doing good things, being good for other people, and this is challenging me to think about that being Christian it may not matter so much what you do as it matters why you're doing it, what's going on inside of you as you think about the person that you're with. Are you in relationship with them? And it's a really different way to be than I think a lot of us were taught. So that on the outside, a lot of it can look the same, right? You've got two people serving soup at a homeless shelter, for example. And one, there's still a big barrier inside of them, and it's really out of pity or out of wanting to just be good and do a good Christian thing, which, you know, that's great. It's better than the guy who's sitting at home watching TV. But I wonder if what Jesus is really after is this relationship piece. It's really different.
It is.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think the piece to me also is looking at what causes us to hesitate. When we see someone who's homeless, many times people pass on the street and they don't even make eye contact with this person. And a lot of times it's out of fear. It's out of fear if I'm going to see in them something that's a part of myself as well. I know whenever I have, and I've kind of cultivated this practice, if I have a reaction to someone, maybe it's like, oh, I feel afraid, or it's something I may not like in that person, it helps me to just take a moment and look at what is it about them, because most likely it's something actually about myself that I'm either not loving or I haven't faced into that I'm afraid of. And once I do feel into that, once I do realize I could be that person on the street, it opens up my own capacity for love for myself, but also it opens up a relationship to them.
It seems to go really well with our Love Thy Neighbor theme this year, and the difference between, or say it this way, how easily love thy neighbor can slip into serve thy neighbor, which, you know, can be a kind thing to do, can be a good thing to do, but is that love to serve another either because you feel like you should as a Christian, or you know, or because you feel sorry for this person? Those are all, you know, let them be what they are. Is that love? Is that what love thy neighbor really means? I think it's a challenging thing for a lot of us to look at why we're doing what we're doing.
Yes, I would agree. So our questions for this week are, what were you taught growing up? What was the norm that was kind of the moral that was installed in you? Was it good to be charitable, or was it more important to be in relationship with? Which one of those had a higher priority?
And then whatever you learned, you know, we thought we'd ask this as a very direct question. Does it matter, you know, if you're helping someone, what does it matter how you feel about them? Or does it matter how you feel about the person if you're helping? You know, we've shared some thoughts on that, but have some discussion around that too.
And I think it may be worthwhile around your table conversation to share maybe a story of when you've noticed, am I just being of service to them, or am I really feeling them? Am I really feeling about them, and what do I notice about that? And share kind of that wrestling that may happen.
Should be good. I love this subject, and like I said, I'm going to try to preach on it this Sunday, so hopefully that'll give you some more, you know, food for thought around this. In many ways, this is the big shift, I think, for a church like this, for our theme this year. This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
It really feels core. So anyway, good luck with it. Have a great time.
Bye.